What role does money play in your happiness? Do higher incomes necessarily lead to contentment? You can answer these questions either yes or no. You could say that. To help you draw your own conclusions, I'll examine the correlation between financial success and subjective well-being in this video. It's reasonable that many people dedicate their entire lives to accumulating wealth, as it's necessary for basic survival needs like nutrition, clothing, medical treatment, and a roof over our heads. If you don't have any money, you won't be able to take care of yourself. The likelihood of feeling happy drops significantly if we neglect to meet our basic needs. For this reason, economic hardship is a reliable predictor of emotional distress. So, in this case, having money will unquestionably bring us joy, since we can buy the things we need to lead a regular life. Living paycheck to paycheck and always worrying about whether you'll be able to pay your expenses and make it through the month has been shown to cause a lot of stress. Research has linked being in over your head with debt to feelings of depression, anxiety, pessimism, and a more negative evaluation of one's own life. Being financially secure would boost your mood once more in this scenario, since it would mean having one less thing to obsess over, which in turn would reduce tension and give you more mental space to focus on the more important things in life. However, how much money is enough for a person to live the fullest and best life they can? Happiness levels are higher for those making $50,000 a year compared to those making $25,000. Since this is the case, it stands to reason that providing them with an annual income of $100,000 would only serve to increase their level of contentment. Right? I wouldn't say it's beyond a certain threshold, though. Happiness cannot be bought with money alone. Making $100,000 a year doesn't make you any happier than making $50,000 annually. Over $75,000 a year in North America does not bring any more happiness. According to research by Daniel Kahneman, money can buy happiness up to a certain point. Money can buy happiness up to a certain point. But after you've reached the middle class, it won't buy you much more joy in your day-to-day life. Obviously, it's important to note that $75,000 is only a median figure. To meet your basic requirements in San Francisco, you will need more money than you might have at home. Living expenses are far lower in some parts of the world, so even a $30,000 annual salary may be sufficient. Due to inflation, we may expect this figure to keep growing over time. Earning more than $75,000 annually does not bring about an improvement in happiness on a daily basis, according to the same study. It does lead to a more positive outlook on life overall. This indicates that people who have been successful in making more money are likely to be happy with the way their lives have turned out even after earning over $75,000. One possible explanation for this is the impact of social comparison. Consider for a second that you have submitted your resume. Their functions can be broken down into 3 categories. It's possible to fill positions A, B, and C. Additionally, they are all paid different amounts. Establish A. In position A, you would earn $40,000 per year, while your coworkers in position B would receive $50,000 per year. In addition, you'd produce exactly that much, instead of C. A sum of $60,000 would be paid to you. All the other employees in that division, however, would be paid $120,000 if they wanted to maximize your satisfaction. Which salary do you prefer? What if you were put in a position where you had to choose? It's clear that mistakes would be made during the most lucrative times. If you were trying to find the least disappointing solution possible, this would be it. Because of your superior financial or professional performance, the location closest to your workplace would be ideal. You take pride in the fact that no one can match your abilities. The fact that we care about such seemingly insignificant things reveals nothing about our nature. Comparing ourselves to other people is a fun pastime. To illustrate, supposing you got a B on a test when everyone else got a C. You wouldn't feel great about yourself if you got an A and everyone else earned a B. You did worse than everyone else. To put it another way, if you received an A and everyone else got a C, you would feel great about yourself. Even if the results are the same, the incomes of individuals around us have a significant impact on our own level of financial satisfaction. This also means that the top 1% of earners earned over $1 million annually. Because of the prevalence of social media in today's world, when judging our own merits, we are using the entire human species as a benchmark. It's possible that comparing ourselves to other wealthy individuals will do more harm than good. If that's the case for you, logging off social media might be a good idea because It's easy to get caught up in pointless comparisons that will only bring you down. To remind you, an A+ is currently the highest possible grade. You would be thrilled with such a result. You may always be making more money than you are right now simply because human beings have an insatiable appetite for wealth. When asked what their perfect salary would be, most people provide very consistent answers. Constantly more than they are bringing in at the moment. Workers who make $30,000 annually say that $50,000 would be more like it. Those who make over $100,000 a year say they need $300,000 to live comfortably. And even if they did reach their desired level of wealth and income, their wants would continue to expand. There is no way for us to ever be entirely happy. Whence, though, does the notion arise that we always need a little bit more? This is because of the hedonic adaptation hypothesis. For instance, supposing you're currently making $30,000 per year and you're given a position that pays $50,000 per year. How do you think you would feel now? The mistake would be to assume that this emotion is permanent. Though you'd feel happier at first, that feeling would fast fade as you became used to your increased financial stability over the next few months. It's interesting to note that many people are blissfully unaware of the possibility of such an adjustment. Eventually, you'll get used to your newfound affluence and will require a salary raise or better job to feel contented once more, just like you did before. Because of how slowly it develops, we can miss it. When the temperature changes, for example, there is a corresponding modest adaptation. Think about how hot it is on a warm day before you get inside your cool house. The temperature indoors is shockingly low compared to the sweltering weather outside. But as time goes on and you spend more time in the house, you become accustomed to the air conditioning and eventually stop noticing it at all. The same thing happens when you increase your wealth or obtain new material possessions. Like a high-end sports car. The weather that at first felt so crisp and cool has become, after some time, merely comfortable. For a limited time, say, 2 weeks, you'll definitely be feeling quite great. The initial excitement will quickly fade, though. You won't have the same enthusiasm for driving your new car as you did on the first day. No matter how much better it is than your old one. This is also true when upgrading to a larger house. You'll be overjoyed at first, but then you'll get used to your new digs and start fantasizing of a bigger house with a greater view. Maintain objectivity. The quality of your life will improve, but that doesn't mean you'll constantly feel glad about it. Money and material belongings, contrary to common opinion, don't make us happy for very long. Instead, they make us happy for a short period of time. Until we adapt and begin to believe that we deserve better. You'll start to wish you had a slightly nicer automobile, a slightly larger house, and a little more money. However, it's great to see the world adapt in this way. If you're dealing with less than ideal life situations, the ability to adapt is a must. If you were permanently disabled in a car accident, you could feel terrible about yourself. If you asked lottery winners how they felt when they found out they had won, they would, without a doubt, describe feeling overjoyed. And if you asked folks who were in the accident how they were feeling at the time, you'd find that their rating was as low as it could be. As I'm sure you can imagine, both the lottery winners and the paraplegics eventually adjusted to their new circumstances and found some measure of happiness again. The lottery winners were still happier than the accident victims, though. If you aren't as fortunate as others, you can benefit greatly by learning to adjust, as we have seen. However, lottery winners face a different problem, the same study found. Many of them no longer appreciate the simpler things in life. Things that used to bring you joy, like a nice cup of coffee in the morning or a gorgeous sunset, no longer do. This is because people who win the lottery often feel an immediate need to treat themselves to the finest material goods available. Thus, the standards for what constitutes quality have shifted. It is instead considered subpar or imperfect. You now have a new standard, the best possible. Perhaps this other way of looking at it will help you make up your mind. If your first automobile was a $500,000 Ferrari, how would you feel about trading down to a $50,000 BMW? Most likely, not the best. Your expectations are so high that you'd consider anything less than a $500,000 automobile to be a step down. The experience of lottery winners is thus. Don't go crazy with your newfound wealth immediately away. Only thing you will do if you care about happiness. Otherwise, you will quickly raise your expectations to the point that the things that used to make you happy no longer do. But how can we enhance our joy through our financial choices? One approach to put your money to good use is to treat yourself to an enjoyable event with friends or loved ones. This may be anything from a romantic dinner to a trip to an amusement park or a concert. We don't really adapt to them because of how fleeting they usually are. You can't become used to a one-time concert, for example. Keep in mind, too, that if you start dining out too regularly, it will cease to be a novelty. You'll become used to the new routine and start to see the days as random. To avoid slipping into this trap, try to reduce your lavish activities to a minimum. Because what's the point of eating well if it doesn't make you happy? To a lesser extent, we can spend our money on other people. Giving to others, rather than treating oneself, makes people happy. This is true whether the money is spent on a large gesture of generosity or on a tiny token of appreciation. This may go against your natural inclination. As most people's first thought when faced with the prospect of parting with their hard-earned cash is to treat themselves. It's not about the money, because making someone else's day brighter makes your own day brighter regardless of how much you spend. Extra leisure time can be bought, and is a worthy investment in itself. You, like the vast majority of individuals, likely have a day job. That's a lot of time spent on the road getting to and from the office alone. Unfortunately, the quality of life tends to decline for those who devote the majority of their waking hours to the pursuit of material wealth. It's the same with people who say they'd be happier if they had more leisure time. This is because people who spend their time doing things they enjoy are happier and more fulfilled, despite the fact that their income is lower. Whether it's gardening, roller skating, or writing a novel, it's beneficial to spend some time each week doing something you enjoy. In light of this, it may be wise to invest in your daily joy if you have the option of working fewer hours while still meeting demand. Furthermore, rather of seeing it as a wage loss, quote unquote, you can think of it as buying extra time. However, this isn't always the case, since some individuals do find fulfillment in their jobs. And many others simply don't know what they'd enjoy doing that would make them happier. Now I can move on to my second argument, which is that you should avoid spending money on things or activities that would bring you joy. It can assist you deal with whatever is giving you the most trouble. A common one is background noise. There is no acclimatization period for living with noise, especially if it is fluctuating and occurs in waves. If you currently reside on a very noisy street, you may find that moving might improve your quality of life. Alternatively, you may try investing in a pair of noise-canceling headphones. In any case, it's beneficial to try to lessen the amount of background noise you're exposed to. As for the other problem, getting about is a pain. Whenever possible, locate your home in close proximity to your regular point of departure. Most commutes involve sitting in gridlock traffic, which can increase a person's stress levels. Alter your work schedule so you can avoid rush hour traffic altogether. Find a way to eliminate this major source of suffering. It's only natural that the things that annoy us all range in specificity. Thus, you should evaluate the emotional stresses in your life and think about whether or not financial resources could help you deal with some of them. One final question. Can money truly purchase happiness? Do you believe that monetary success would bring you joy? Evidently, there is more to it than just a yes or no. This is something that is highly variable among individuals, situations, and spending patterns. In some cases, money may buy happiness, but this is not always the case. We hope this article has helped shed some light on the connection between monetary success and contentment. It's important to weigh your own stance in light of this data before coming to any conclusions. Whether or not it's worth it to pursue financial success, or whether there are other ways to attain happiness. In the usual fashion, please know how much I value your presence here today. I trust that you learned something new and developed as a person today.